First at 4, Derek Chauvin is behind bars, but the reckoning for Minneapolis police is far from over. New plans from the U.S. Attorney General, plus Paula Tubman on the impact of the verdicts.
Karen, we talked to a well-known Detroiter who says he himself was abused by police twice and nothing happened. He eventually became the police chief. He, among others, talk about whether or not real change could possibly be on the horizon.
Also ahead, the 200 million milestone. Now what? President Biden has an offer for American businesses to speed new vaccinations. Ben.
Karen, we just got rid of that snow from yesterday, and now we're seeing more of it showing up in our south zone. Plus, temperatures not getting any warmer. Freeze warnings continue. I'll tell you when we finally warm up. Right now, first at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, there is new action from the Attorney General today connected to the murder of George Floyd and a ripple of emotion still cascading across the country. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin has now been behind bars for nearly 24 hours after being convicted on all counts in Floyd's death. You're looking at his new mugshot. He'll be sentenced in 2 months and could face up to 40 years in prison on the most serious count of second-degree unintentional murder. The reckoning isn't over in Minneapolis, as 3 other former officers still face less serious charges at a trial set for August. Plus, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has opened a civil investigation to see if the Minneapolis Police Department engages in a pattern of unlawful policing.
I strongly believe that good officers do not want to work in systems that allow bad practices. Good officers welcome accountability because accountability is an essential part of building trust with the community, and public safety requires public trust.
As you can imagine, it has been an emotional 24 hours for George Floyd's family. His brother told the Today Show what the jury's decision means to him.
It should be the beginning of this nation figuring out that we all can live with each other. We all should be able to work together. People really believe that we have freedom, and it's freedom for all since justice was served for George.
From Minneapolis to Detroit and all around the country, the impact of the verdict is still sinking in. Many local community leaders are assessing the relief the verdicts have delivered and also the changes that still need to come. We're going to bring in Paula Tubman. She's been talking with people of faith, law enforcement officers, as well as civil rights activists. And Paula, we're all starting to ask now, what is next?
Well, I guess the sense I'm getting is whether or not this is an actual turning point or simply a point in which things could turn if we decide to turn this verdict as a people into action. Former Detroit Police Chief and Deputy Mayor of the city, Dr. Ike McKinnon, tells a shocking story of 2 things that happened to him.
I was severely beaten up by 4 Detroit police officers when I was 14. I was also shot at by 2 fellow officers in 1967 during the rebellion. Nothing was done. And I remember specifically the looks on their faces as they did what they did to me. That's the same look that was on Chauvin's face.
What did that look say? What was that look?
That look said that I wasn't a human being.
And it is from those goggles he and others are reflecting on the full guilty verdict of Derek Chauvin in the murder of George Floyd.
I am relieved that there was a moment of accountability and humanity that came out of Derek Chauvin's trial. And I am firmly convinced that Mr. Floyd's murder and the subsequent verdict has given us a doorway to walk through and to begin some of the change that needs to happen in our country. As a white woman, it's super painful because I can see in it my complicity.
There is a sense that this is not justice, but just one, and there needs to be more done.
This is not an attack upon police officers. This is an attack upon a system that has provided sanctuary for bad police officers. It is an attack upon injustice, not justice. And for all those good police officers, and there are many, who believe in justice, they should be with us in this, because what happens is that it distorts who you are. We need the passage of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. That must be done because it standardizes the operations of police departments all over the country.
In his first thoughts after the verdict yesterday, Macomb County Sheriff Tony Wickersham said this needs to be a wake-up call to law enforcement.
It wasn't good policing, and this just, kind of reinforces of what our profession is, some of the things that we need to fix.
And so I'm seeing kind of a sense that there's a uniformity in thinking that there are lots of puzzle pieces and they're pretty complicated, Karen, but one thing does seem to be key, and it really does boil down to one single word. And I'm going to tell you what that word is at 5 o'clock.
Right. Consistency is obviously very important on this one. Thank you, Paula. Also had Rhonda Walker talks to the family of Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Did you know that he was born and raised right here in Detroit? Now he is playing a key role in this dramatic moment in American history. We'll have that story at 5:30, and then at 6, where do things stand on police reform here in our state? And also read up on what comes next in the criminal case in Minneapolis. That story is posted on clickondetroit.com. No criminal charges will be filed against Mayor Mike Duggan over the city's relationship with the Make Your Date program. Today's decision comes after a nearly 2-year probe by Attorney General Dana Nessel. Her office investigated allegations of taxpayer dollars being steered to that nonprofit. They also investigated claims that the city's emails about the program were deleted to hide a personal relationship between the mayor and the program's director. The Attorney General says there's no evidence to sustain criminal charges.
The duty of our department in this investigation was to determine whether there was intent, beyond a reasonable doubt, to engage in any criminal act. After a lengthy and thorough investigation, my department has determined that no criminal charges will be filed in this matter.
Nessel says nearly all of the deleted emails were recovered. Tonight at 5, we'll have more on the Attorney General's decision, her explanation, and the first reaction from City Hall. The president of Detroit's City Council says she's not running for another term. Brenda Jones has been a fixture in city government for 16 years. She isn't giving a specific reason for her decision, but released a statement saying, in part, "It is my pleasure to serve you, Detroit. You have been and will always be my heart and soul. I thank all my constituents and colleagues who have supported me throughout the years." Jones was first elected to City Council back in 2005. Well, most of us didn't get a lot of snow, but as you can see right there, not everyone was really prepared. The roads were deceptively dangerous this morning. That big pileup involved at least 20 cars. Happened on the ramp from eastbound 696 to eastbound I-94 in Roseville. Investigators are still sorting through what happened. Video shows the vehicles piled up on what appears to be an icy ramp. The ramp closed for a bit. Cleanup and the investigation happened. It reopened about 10 o'clock this morning. Now, road conditions should be better for the ride home. But you know, it's Michigan. You never know. So let's bring in meteorologist Ben Bailey. It would be nice if spring would return, Ben.
You know, we can see it in the 7-day forecast, Karen. It's just not here in the short term, and we still are looking at stuff on Storm Tracker 4 this afternoon, and mostly in the south zone. But you can see that some of these snow showers are spreading into the west zone. A couple of them maybe getting north of 94 here into Wayne County. But generally, once the sun goes down, this stuff is going to fade, and you can see that here in the forecast map. So after about 8, 9 o'clock, we should see an end to that. Freeze warnings, though, those are going to be in effect through tomorrow morning. So take what we woke up to this morning and then subtract some more from it, and that's where we're going to end up tomorrow. So other than the cold, our weather impacts are generally going to be low until we get to Saturday, and that's when we're going to get a mess of rain in here. We'll talk about just how much we're expecting and how much of the weekend's going to be a washout in just a few minutes. Karen?
All right, thank you, Ben. The U.S. is set to make a major vaccine milestone as Michigan surpasses 800,000 COVID cases. Today, the state reported 5,584 new cases and 45 deaths. We've now seen 804,000 total cases, lost more than 17,000 lives since the pandemic began. This afternoon, President Biden announced the U.S. has reached his goal of administering 200 million shots in his first 100 days. Kimberly Gill, following the nationwide efforts from our newsroom. And Kim, President unveiled another plan to help more people get their shots.
President Biden says with 80% of people 65 and older vaccinated, the focus now becomes working adults. He says he's hearing from people who can't afford to take time off to get a shot, and he had a message for their employers.
I'm calling on every employer, large and small, in every state to give employees the time off they need with pay to get vaccinated, and any time they need with pay to recover if they're feeling under the weather after the shot. No working American should lose a single dollar from their paycheck because they chose to fulfill their patriotic duty of getting vaccinated.
The president unveiled a tax credit for small businesses if they provide paid leave for employees getting vaccinated or feeling sick from the side effects. It gives credits of more than $500 per day per employee to businesses with fewer than 500 workers. The money is coming from that nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package that passed Congress. The IRS will post instructions on how businesses can get reimbursed. The president also encouraged bigger companies to provide paid time off and offer other incentives such as gift cards or bonuses. The White House says 43% of working adults have received at least one vaccine dose. Karen, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Still ahead, first at 4, a legal setback for an attorney who used to work for former President Donald Trump, what he wanted from a judge. Also, are you looking to change jobs after the pandemic? You're not alone. A new survey reveals the #1 reason people are ready to move on. Plus, this probably doesn't look like much snow to us, but it did set a springtime record. The story, and Ben returns with a look at when things warm up for us. First at 4 continues in just a few minutes.